Well, thanks for joining us. I'm I'm trying to think back, and this is when I started my job, and you were working as a consultant with the State Bar, but you had a history with some of the one of the committees that's on the Access to Justice Committee before you were in your role now, right? Remembering that correctly?
Oh, that's right. I think, our judicial branch has had a really longstanding commitment to access to justice issues. And over the years, there's been a number of different committees and commissions focused on that work. And so I think the difference now is in 2017, the Nebraska Supreme Court kind of refocused and reorganized all of those various subcommittees looking at self-represented litigants or language access or racial justice issues under the Access to Justice Commission umbrella. And I was just so honored. I'd been a part of that work for probably more than 15 years at the committee level, but just honored to be asked to co-chair the Access to Justice Commission with Justice Stephanie Stacy.
Yeah, and that was, um, I mean, the historical one was called Minority Justice Committee. Was that the
Yeah.
one that you
Yep.
were? I remember meeting with you and Judge Irwin to talk
Yeah.
about that. So
Yes.
so that very long history there, and the restructuring of it is really to make sure that we're all doing it as much as possible with the work that's being done, right?
Right. I think the part of the vision for the Access to Justice Commission is to help avoid duplication and leverage opportunities. So before there was maybe some silos where there's overlap between certain access issues. And so just trying to provide better coordination, identify opportunities, and make sure that all of those different initiatives are informed and connected in some way.
Absolutely. Um, for those that aren't as aware of what the commission's done and is doing, and some of the committees of that, um, from your spot as co-chair, what do you really what are you most proud of that the work's been done and is going on with the commission?
Um, yeah, so that question's hard for me to answer because there's so many great examples over the years. But I guess I'll just maybe throw out a few. It's like historically, um, or actually, the one of the more recent ones was really proud to be a part of. In the fall of 2019, our Commission on Tribal, State, and Federal Courts did a series of public engagement events with the tribes in Nebraska. And those were basically kind of public engagement discussions with those tribes on their lived experience in the court system, their perceptions of the court system. And it's just not every day that a government entity engages in a dialogue with the community like that. And I think it was hard to hear. But I think that those conversations really create an opportunity to reflect and to learn, and it creates a sense of accountability that now that we know this, we can do some things better, and let's move forward together. And so it was just incredibly powerful and incredibly informative, and not something that you see every day in terms of how government works. So I was really excited to be a part of that. A few of those sessions were delayed because of the pandemic, so we are going to be swinging out to Western Nebraska, hopefully yet in 2021, to do that in some of the other areas of the state.
Yeah. And just to get a sense, and I've tried to do some counting, and I think I've maybe gotten lost here, but in terms of the scope, this is the Robert M. Spire Award. You're our honorary attorney, Dr. Neeley. We're
Yep,
going to
yep,
give you the JD for the day and give you the award. But how many attorneys are volunteering their time to be a part of the commission and all the subcommittees on this? A lot, right?
yeah. I feel like it's a great collaborative group of the law schools, nonprofits, libraries, government lawyers. And so it takes everyone to really help work through and identify the issues and move forward. And I think it's just astounding to think about over the years, the impact that these various committees under the Access to Justice Commission have. So I'm sure the administrative office of the court's staff could probably give us a better estimate. But think about over the last several decades, hundreds of thousands of forms for self-represented litigants that are downloaded and used in the courts every day. 20 years ago, when I first started in kind of working in this area, there were only 3 certified court interpreters for the entire state of Nebraska. And we had situations where, children were interpreting for their parents in court. We kind of had to build, that system of what it looks like to provide an interpreter and what those standards would be. And today, Nebraska has one of the most progressive interpretations of the right to a court interpreter. We have more than 50 certified court interpreters. The judicial branch just established a program with Northeast Community College to help train language interpreters. And so it's really cool to see how far we've come. But if you think about it, every time a Nebraskan receives court interpreter services in our courts, that work was informed by an Access to Justice Commission initiative of the judicial branch. More recently, we just established or just published a toolkit for limited scope representation, right? So if you think about every time a lawyer helps a client using limited scope representation, that touches on the work of the commission. So it's very expansive, it's very exciting, and it's very necessary work.
Absolutely. And, over this last year and plus now, the work's continued, and even what it's done to lead to this point has certainly helped. Can you speak a little bit to maybe how it's been going this last year, and how the commission really worked with that?
Yeah, so I mean, from a committee perspective, right, we meet virtually instead of in person, all of those types of adjustments. But I think it's fair to say that the pandemic has certainly created new challenges. So we have increased unemployment, more people are facing evictions, less people are able to afford legal services. There's increased stress on our civil legal provider network. And at certain times, the pandemic has required lawyers to attend hearings virtually via video conferencing. So there's all sorts of new challenges that have been created by the pandemic. But if you think through it, it's also created a number of opportunities. And one of them that I like to share is Nebraska is actually enjoying a historic low of youth in detention. And that's because our juvenile justice system has responded to, try and protect people's health and well-being, and found alternatives, and has become less focused on detention. That's something we hope continues after the pandemic, right? That's one of those opportunities that was created. And then the second one that I think comes to everyone's mind is the legal community's utilization of video conferencing technology. And I think our state has the opportunity to capitalize on that. We can be using that to help address the rural access gap, serving underserved legal communities. We've also seen that it's helping to reduce the cost of legal counsel because you're more efficient. You don't have to travel as much. You can pop in just for your hearing. You don't have to sit there for several hours. So there's some good things that I think, lessons learned that have come from the pandemic. So as a legal community, I think it's really important for us to be mindful of those deficiencies, but also the opportunities that the pandemic has created. And our Chief Justice has established a COVID-19 task force kind of for that purpose. They're doing the kind of analysis of how things went, what are the lessons learned, and how do we move forward? And that task force is coordinating with our Access to Justice Commission to help identify those things that maybe we weren't thinking about last March when we were all in a frenzy just trying to respond to the pandemic, but now we've got some time to reflect on.
It could really be a pivot, a turning point in our profession if we can do work remotely via video conference, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
that it kind of blows my mind in some respects, because if we lean into this, and the courts have to lean into it too to allow it to continue and everything like that, but we can alleviate a lot of pressure on areas where there aren't more than a couple attorneys in a county.
Yep.
And certainly, you get done with your work and then you can go do an hour of, limited scope work for somebody. It just, I think that if we approach it as an opportunity, and not just sink back into the way
Yep.
we've done in the past, I think it could be a game changer in many ways to open it up.
Absolutely. Well said.
Yeah. So if there are attorneys that are thinking, this is the sort of thing that I got into law practice for. This is great work. I want to lend a hand. Is there room for more attorneys to join the committees?
Yeah, so the Nebraska Supreme Court appoints to the Access to Justice Commission and the various committees under the commission. So if you are interested in this work, what I would recommend is reaching out to the Deputy State Court Administrator, Amy Prenda, and just indicate your interest. And then they can kind of reach out, find out what a good fit would be, and help fill those vacancies as they occur. I'd say that even if you, it's a great opportunity for those discussions kind of about making change on a systemic level. But there's also lots of opportunities to get involved in access to justice work more on the individual level, right? So you can reach out to Legal Aid of Nebraska. You can reach out to the Volunteer Lawyers Project. They can connect you with kind of the boots on the ground opportunities to serve low-income Nebraskans, whether that's online, in a self-help center, mentoring a college student, a law student. I mean, there's just a lot of different ways to get involved in the work of the Access to Justice Commission.
I love that. It is a big tent. Absolutely. Extends all the way down. Is there any part of the work of the commission that may be less known that you want to shine a light on that doesn't get as much play out there? I mean, you talked about the listening tour and everything like that, and the importance of hearing from tribal actors. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on that we should?
I guess I'd share a couple things. The public engagement sections with the tribes is kind of very public and out there, and kind of engagement and opportunity. And then there's other projects that are not as sexy or exciting. So one example is we just helped develop guidelines for court staff on providing assistance to self-represented litigants, right? And so where's the line for the unauthorized practice of law versus you're being helpful and this is your job, and helping court staff to navigate that? Not exciting. People don't dream of developing those standards, but that's important too, right? And so I think that there's kind of a mix of things that are very kind of rules-based work versus community engagement versus research. And so there's kind of a little bit of everything going on within the commission. One thing I'm very excited about is the Access to Justice Commission is about to undertake a strategic planning process. And so we're really hoping to kind of build on the success that we've had in the past, but it's time to kind of think outside the box and reimagine the future of the commission. So we can't just say, we've done a great job, just keep doing what you're doing. We've got to think about what's next. And to your point, Dave, how has the pandemic changed things? I mean, there's new questions that we need to be asking ourselves. And so I think it's an exciting time to be involved in this work.
You're such a strategic thinker, and to talk about, change it and doing a new strategy session and plan, it's important. And it's important when you have momentum, when you're still doing the work and not when it's done. And it's tough because people are like, oh, that's a lot of process, that's a lot of time. But as you know, if you keep that momentum going forward, it can create much bigger things. So smart move to do that when you have that momentum. That's exciting.
Well, and Dave,
I love it too.
I just want to say thank you to you. I know you're a member of our self-represented litigants committee, and appreciate all the work that you do, and your support of the Volunteer Lawyers Project and Legal Aid, and for all the OBA is doing to help champion access issues. So thank you very much.
Well, of course, this award was, giving an award to me. That's really what it was all about, right?
Well, it's deserved. Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on. And
Yep. Thanks for having me.